Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. So, joining us for this segment is the chairman of GTEXT Holdings, Dr. Stephen Akintayo. Dr. Stephen Akintayo is, you've been on the show a few weeks back to talk about this, the projects in the U.S. So in recent times, you've been talking about the GTEXT Holding expanding to the U.S. with the operation. You've told us how far the project has gone and how you want to do a project in Georgia, Alabama, Houston, Texas as well. So can you give us more information about it?
Yeah, so the Georgia one is already completed. So it's a 20-unit of 3-bedroom townhouse that we're selling at the moment. In Alabama as well is a fix and flip. So we have them already ready. So they are currently being sold, yes.
Okay.
So it's the Houston one that are new developments that were started, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember you said the last time one of the reasons you decided to, venture internationally, aside from still having your estates in Nigeria. Can you, for the benefit of people who are just watching for the first time, can you tell us how GTEXT is doing in Nigeria and why you decided to expand into the US?
Well, so the Nigeria, one of the things we started 9 years ago was what we call service plots. So service plots are basically you buying a plot where there will be drainage, there will be fence, there will be proper security, and then you can build your house. We realize that in Nigeria, people want to buy land and build their house. They don't, some people are learning to buy houses as well, but there's more passion for buy my land and build. But because of a Monile issue, the now advent of estates that are properly structured. Because when you look at how we sell land, there's no plan for layout. When you buy land, let's say 50 acre, 20% of it is supposed to go for infrastructure, the road, the drainage, and you will have seen a lot of poorly, developed neighborhood across Lagos where there's no proper size for road, no proper drainage, no proper, even water system. So for us, we started with that, and it's been, today we have over 20 estates across Nigeria, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Asaba, Lagos, everywhere. And for us, it's more of housing was next, but the housing thing, we couldn't move the way we wanted. Okay. And we felt that it was easier to expand when it comes to building houses internationally than in Nigeria. Because the challenge you have with doing that in Nigeria is that today you tell somebody, I will build your house for 100 million, 5-bedroom. Then dollar versus naira, inflation. Now it's...
Well, no, naira is strong.
But it hasn't trickled into the market yet.
Exactly. I mean, inflation now is 33%, the latest report.
It's on higher.
So cost of buying things to build is just not something you can predict. Now, we're still doing that, but we're just not doing it aggressively as we would have wanted. So for us, it was easier to then do that internationally, where you can, your analysis is more accurate. Yeah.
Okay, let's investing in global real estate. I know that it's not cheap, of course. Even the local one is not cheap. But how do you plan to raise funds to continue this level of expansion? And who is also the target market for the businesses in the U.S., for the houses in the U.S.?
Well, so the good news with international expansion is that there's proper funding, right? So one of the challenges we face in Nigeria, and I've, advocate that the government needs to come into the housing sector. So, for example, we keep talking about affordable housing, and I see a lot of my colleagues always shouting, we're doing affordable housing, and I laugh because in reality, affordable housing is never an individual's job. It's never a private sector thing. It's always a partnership with the government. When you hear affordable housing in the UK, it's actually more of the house is built at the proper price, then the government pay you, the developer, to subsidize it. So we have to take seriously the role of government in making property affordable in Nigeria. But in developed climate, you have enough funding, and so it's a lot easier. It's just your own counterpart funding you always raise, which is between 30 to 15% that you are trying to raise as your own counterpart fund. But typically, you have 70% available by institutional investors. So for us, it's been a lot easier expanding internationally. However, our estate business keep growing big time in Nigeria. This year alone.
I noticed that you mentioned a few, there were new branches, new estates being opened in Lagos,
Yes,
Ibadan, Port
yes,
Harcourt.
yes.
Give us more.
Yeah, so I mean, well, amazing expansion in Ijebu. You are a Ijebu woman, okay? I think you are from Ijebu now.
Yes, I am.
Right. So we're also in Port Harcourt about 2 new estates. So we're still expanding big time because I think the last time I came here, there were assumptions, people feeling maybe we have stopped working in Nigeria. That's not it. We're even expanding bigger. One of my arguments has been that you can always, do both ways. I think that we should never start entrepreneurship and think about it from a local perspective. You can think of a global feel to business. And I mean, look at our music, look at our movies. If we never had a global perspective, we would not be enjoying what we're enjoying today.
Yeah. So what do you think you did to gain the trust of people? Because people don't trust Nigerians and Nigerian-owned companies. So what do you think you did to gain that trust?
Yeah, I think one of the things for us was communication. A lot of times we've mastered the art of really, really communicating to people. People argue that most Nigerians are scammers, you can't trust them. But I think that it's usually communication that is our problem. If a Nigerian tries to promise you that he's going to sell you this chair for, let's say, 30 naira, he gets to the market, he has planned he will buy for 20 naira. Gets to the market and is now actually going for 29 naira. Rather than come back to you and say, I'm sorry, you need to pay more money, right? Or I'll give you back your money.
Make a refund.
He would rather go ahead and buy, expecting that he will not tell you that you need to give me an extra 10 naira, else you won't get your chair. But in reality, he wasn't trying to scam you. He just didn't communicate properly the way he needed to. So for us, one, we realized that we needed to communicate more, and it has helped in a way. I mean, business, there's nothing guaranteed, when it comes to business, but we've learned to communicate. For example, we have one of our estates in Ibejuleki now. The coastal road has taken 5 acres out of it. Yeah. Totally.
Their house is built on it?
Thank God. When we got to know that there were going to be coastal road passing around the area, we paused building houses. It goes back to what we were saying about why we are not able to expand housing the way we would have wanted. Because usually you just hear something is going on here, something will come up here. And so at least the house issue wasn't there. But the fence is affected. And when you look at, we had to do the interlocking of the road, we had to do the fence. That in itself cost us over 300 million to 500 million to do all those that we did. Even a site office was built there as well. Because again, in Nigeria, encroachments, Ajagungbale issues.
Yeah.
So if you don't fence the land, people will just take it over. So now you've lost all of that, even the sand filling that was done. So Nigerian entrepreneurship is really difficult. But what we have had to do is just keep communicating. Yeah. This is where we are. This is what we're doing. This is what, and it has helped to really, really endanger trust. I mean, for a company that started 16 years ago with just 1,000 naira as a bulk SMS company to the number of assets we control globally, I think we've enjoyed trust. Yeah.
So what influenced your choice of states abroad, like Alabama, you talked about Georgia and Texas? What did you see that you decided to, have a real estate investment in those areas?
Well, so for us, we're always looking at rental income. When it comes to housing, we're looking at rental income. When it comes to land, we're looking at places that has potential to appreciate faster. Like the Ibejuleki I just told you now, 4 years ago, we're selling land 1.5 million. Now land is going around 30 million around that area, particularly because of the coastal road. So the coastal road also has its benefit because it has added value to land in those areas. So we are very strategic about if it's a house, where can we get the rental income? So Valdosta, for example, there's a naval base there. There's a university there. So there's, constantly people are willing to rent houses and they are paying you good money for your house. And for us, we looked at it that for our clients, a lot of our investors are still Africans. They're based in Nigeria or in diaspora. And many of them have issues of dollar, particularly those in Nigeria. They have children studying abroad. And so when you have certain assets in the U.S., at least the rental income can go towards taking care of your children's fees and their welfare and all that, yeah.
So one of the things that every business owner will complain about in Nigeria is the economic instability. Like, it's YK starts the show every time she's here. There's there's something the government is doing.
Economic deficit.
Yes. What are the unique challenges that GTEXT has faced? You mentioned a few of them, the coastal road challenge, cost of building materials going up. But what are the challenges that GTEXT has faced, and how have you mitigated those challenges to continue building your business?
Well, so first of all, honestly, I mean, people will argue with me, but my view is that the last 8 years, of the last administration was a disaster.
Wow.
Particularly when it comes to business, when it comes to economic issues. It's taken the new government a lot to change trust, to build a better economic environment. I mean, we can see what's happening with the dollar, and I think kudos to the new administration. But for us has been that I tell people entrepreneurship, for you to be an entrepreneur, and that's why I think somebody once said it, that if you're an entrepreneur in Nigeria, there should be a free pass to heaven. You shouldn't go to hell.
I'm telling you, you've been through hell already.
Because you've been through hell already. And it's really, because every day you're battling with either, people in various government establishments who have never really run business. So they even think you are the enemy. Today, I've once been on a TV show, and the same day I was getting a tax letter. And what the person didn't get, I'm trying to raise money for my business expansion. In his mind, he heard we are doing a project, $150 million. He's already seeing numbers.
You have money.
He's already seeing numbers in his mind. And so because you have people in government offices who've never really run business and understand that you and the entrepreneur, you're supposed to be partners, right? We're shouting no job in Nigeria. There's no job because businesses are dying, right? So until you begin to make it a partnership, you can't, always wanting to put pressure on businesses without also saying, how are we supporting those businesses?
How are they surviving?
How are they surviving? What are we doing as a government, as a ministry to support what they're doing, to support how they're coping, to cushion the effects of the challenges. But for me, what we have learned to do over time is to keep strategizing, always ask ourselves that, hey, we have decided to be entrepreneurs, and our job is solve problems, come up with ideas, come up with solutions, and we will just keep doing that. And of course, regularly keep advising people in power, keep talking, because I realize that in Nigeria, entrepreneurs don't want to talk about anything about policies, and they are the ones affected the most. By those policies. A lot of my mates always say, how come you are this audacious? And I say, for me, we just have to talk, right? If we have decided to say we need to be in the private sector, we're not necessarily going into politics. We also have to encourage our colleagues who are into government, into politics, to do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, we're all affected by these decisions.
I have to take you up on you're saying the last government was a complete disaster. The last administration was a complete disaster because I'm sure you voted for the last. you must have voted. And how do you know this one is going to be any better since it's an offshoot of the last government?
Well, so first of all, when you look at the former president antecedents, the 2 times he was president, there was recession. Right? That's no coincidence. That tells you there's an economic incompetence on his part. He's not a businessman. He doesn't understand how business works. In the last election, I mentioned it that the 3 top candidates really have experiences when it comes to entrepreneurship. At some point, they've done business. And so they had a better chance to running the economy better. And it's based on that. And when you also look at it as an entrepreneur, the decision, whether by CBN, you now have a more reasonable CBN that is not trying to dabble into politics and all the nonsense that the former one did.
If we start Dr. Stevie on politics and policies, we will not leave this show. And the truth is, while it is important to the business, that wasn't our basis for this conversation. So we want to keep you on point. What will be your final words to those watching? How can they reach you?
I just had to ask because I was curious when you said that about the last administration.
No, I think it's
Not
important.
that I disagree. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just asking.
Yeah. No, but for me, I love those conversations. I encourage a lot of people in the private sector to have
To
those
hold,
conversations.
yes, it's important.
You know, because we can't all be saying, you know, they'll come after you, so let's run away from.
Did you say
it's
it
still our country? Yeah, I did. I mean,
Your final words?
TMO knows that.
What are we buying from you?
Well, so my final word is one, you know, we're in business and we keep expanding locally as well as we're doing internationally. And for us, we've decided to make sure this is our country. There's no other country. And my encouragement to everyone is, as much as we also criticize government, we also have to be optimistic. It's going to be a great country.
Amen.
And this country, I can assure you, the data is showing that this country will be great.
Yeah, we got
Amen.
potential.
Amen. I don't have any other country.
Thank you so much. Thank you
you
so
for
much for your
having me.
time. Thank you
Thank
for coming and having this conversation with us. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll go into the hot topics for today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.